Hey there, everybody. Oh, God, how do I even start this? This is not my usual, in character, so to speak, thing. This has nothing to do with my channel. This is a personal thing from me. Um, to be honest, I don't necessarily have to make this video. I kind of struggled with whether or not I should, because at the time I'm recording this, it's Monday. So I'm basically like a day and a half away from recording This Week in Kyrix, where I'm going to get into detail about this. So those of you who want to follow up on this, check back Wednesday for This Week in Kyrix, or Thursday, depending on how soon I get it uploaded. I have been, not that any of you would know it, because my uploads have been kind of stalled, except for Twick and a couple of minor videos like this one. They've been stalled for the better part of the year as I prepare for 2016. But I've been kind of off the grid for the past week because my kitty cat, Kisa, my baby for 9 years, he's not, nothing's, well, I can't say nothing's wrong. He's been really sick lately. The following is going to include pictures of him. These are not cute kitty pictures. These are pictures of his condition, which it's not gruesome, but it can be a little graphic. So be forewarned that if you don't want to see this, minimize the window, because I'm not gonna. There's nothing but the sound of my voice, and I will take them down off of the recording itself before I close the video. But anyway, these are pictures I took mostly to post on Facebook because I was in kind of a oh, not a panic, but I was not my usual stable, calm self. So I needed to talk to someone. So for pretty much the first time ever, I posted something on my Facebook without just because I'll comment to stuff, but I don't post shit. That's not me. But this right here is Kisa's chin. It was originally, the vet had told me feline acne, and I'd seen pictures that showed something similar to this, but they wouldn't actually look at him at the time because Kisa has a reputation at the vet, which before he got sick I thought was kind of cute. The fact that he's the one that everyone tells stories about. And here's another picture, and you can see it's basically a boil on his chin, or two or three of them actually, which I don't want to say ruptured, but they are draining. Like when me and John feed him, sometimes we get little spots of blood, and I guess it's not quite pus, but it's not blood either. It's kind of that. If any of you have ever had a boil, there's a certain kind of blood that comes out of it that's not blood, it's not pus, it's a mixture of the two. It's kind of brownish. That's what I was getting at it. And I'm going to leave those pictures up for another minute while I discuss this. Anyway, the whole chain of events goes like this. Monday, well, originally Friday, I was going to book him to go to the vet, but my aunt I called my aunt to confirm. She's like, oh, no, I can't do it Friday. I got to take my car in the shop. I'm like, okay. Now, earlier that week, and this is the Friday I'm referring to was October 9th. So this would have happened around the 5th or 6th of October 2015. I had noticed that Kisa's chin looked a little scratched up. At the time, he didn't have the boils. That happened a little bit later. And I called my niece, or I didn't call my niece, I woke her up. I'm like, can you come look at Kisa for me? Or either I woke her up or I pulled her out of the bathroom because she was in there talking to John. It was something like that. It wasn't something casual, like, hey, come take a look at him. I got her away from something. It was either sleep or the bathroom or something. I'm like, can you come take a look at Kisa's chin and tell me if this is normal? And she's like, no, that doesn't look normal at all. Pictures are, give me a second. For those who are listening without wanting to see, the pictures are down. It's safe to put the video back up. They're down, not coming back. So at this point, it's probably Thursday or Friday or so when my niece is like, oh, did they ever find out what's wrong with the chin? Because I'd called the vet a couple times, just rescheduling the appointment to Monday. And I told her no. Right now, he doesn't seem too bothered by it, and he's going to the vet in 2 days anyway. Right now, it didn't seem like it was anything worth panicking about. It looked like he just scratched his chin up, might be a little infected. It was something that would show up on his physical when he went in Monday, you know. So none of us were alarmed by it. So, Sunday night, I give Kisa and Oreo a bath to get him all nice and pretty for the vet, bring him back in the room. Kisa took a little longer to dry, but then again, there's a lot more of him and his fur is thicker, you know? So that's not even slightly out of the ordinary. If he'd been perfectly healthy, it still would have been what happened. So anyway, I take them both in Monday morning, 7 o'clock, like I always do. I get a call around 1, 2 p.m., hey, this is the vet, etc. Oreo was perfect, she did everything she was supposed to do, which was good because this is her first ever visit in her life to the vet, because we found her as a stray. Kisa didn't really get his vaccinations or his checkup. And they said, oh, we gave him the maximum sedative that we could give him, and he just didn't go to sleep. He just stayed up, Which, at the time, he seemed healthy, so I was fine with it. I'm like, yeah, I understand. It sucks that I had to spend $30, but I don't want you guys getting hurt. And they assured me his vaccinations could wait until April when he goes in for his dental. They like to get it in at that moment, but the 6-month time span wouldn't hurt him as long as he got him the next time he came in. And I wasn't worried about the physical because every single time he's ever gone in, his physical basically went like this. He's in great condition, but he's a little heavy, and he could use his teeth cleaned. That's pretty much what it's been. Maybe he might have tapeworm, in which case I have to get a special dewormer for him, pay like $30-$40 for it, which I was prepared if it happened. That happens, by the way, when he gets fleas, for those who don't know. It's been explained to me that when a cat eats, they'll chew themselves. If they eat a flea, it can give them tapeworms. And so I bring him home. He's covered in drool, like he always is. It's the sedative they give him that makes him drool. So I leave him in his cage for a little bit, and then I let him out, and he wanders around, right? And Oreo comes out. She's fine. Tuesday, he's acting a little weird. He didn't eat anything. He barely touched his food, At nighttime, he showed almost no interest. And alarmingly to me, his stomach and chin were still a bit, not crusty, but stiff from the drool. Which you might be thinking, well, you said he was covered in drool. Yeah, but Kisa's a meticulous groomer. Meaning, he will not... This cat's never been icky very much for very long because he grooms the shit out of himself. In one case, I think he did that literally because he got poo on him, But usually I take care of that if I find it on him. Which doesn't happen often. Sometimes he just clings to his fur, I think it's ever happened to him twice. Anyway, so I'm a little alarmed. I call the vet, set up an appointment to go back Wednesday with my aunt. We go up there, and I ask him, hey, I don't have the money for another sedative, and it didn't work last time. I don't have $30 to piss away on something that's not going to work. So I want to go back with him and have the vet check him out. And they tell me, sure. So I go up there, and I sit up there. We get up there at like... I don't remember the exact time, so I'm going to give you the approximate. Let's say I go up there at 3:30, and they're not available until 4. So I sit up there for half an hour, 45 minutes, that kind of thing, waiting for an opening. And they tell me, well, the vet will not see him. None of the vets will see him unless he's sedated. And I tell them, I don't have that kind of money. Can they please look at my cat? He's not acting like himself. He threw up. Because that's another thing. He threw up Monday night. And then Tuesday morning, I thought he threw up again. Because when he threw up Monday night, it was clear. Because it was almost all water. There was like a little bit of food in there. And in the morning on Tuesday, I saw more clear there. It turned out he just peed on the floor. Which, that's not an alarm bell. Sometimes he misses the litter box. Sometimes he just lifts his butt too high because I don't have a covered box for him. So he just sprays the floor and doesn't notice, So it happens not all the time, but it does happen about once every 2 or 3 months. So that's not... If I'd realized it was urine, I'd have been a little less alarmed about it. So I go up there. I talk back and forth to the nurses or the techs or the interns. I don't know who it is. It's the girls, usually girls, who work the desk, answer the phone, set up the appointments, and all that stuff. I don't know what their correct term is. I'm going to refer to them as techs because I don't know. But I talked to the techs for a little while. They bring one of the nurses. I think it's a nurse because they're dressed like the techs, but I don't know. But it's unimportant to the story. They bring someone else out who, again, communicates with me. In the end, they end up prescribing 3 things for him. An anti-nausea pill, an antibiotic, and a appetite booster. And I don't have money because I'm literally... I literally left myself just enough of a window that I had, like, maybe $1 left over after my upcoming Finger Hut bill, which paid for all the stuff that I've got there, you know? So I get on the phone, I call a couple friends, and I end up calling Skinner, who I refer to a lot. He's one of my friends who's done Let's Plays with me. And I tell him, I'm like, dude, I hate to ask, because I'd asked him as one of the people that might potentially get me up to the vet that day. Not him specifically, his roommate, but that I ended up getting my aunt to do it. But I told him, I'm like, dude, I don't want to ask, but is there any way you can loan me $50? He's like, well, when can you have it back to me? I'm like, I can pay it back November 4th. You know, he's like, okay, sure, I'll give you $50. So my aunt bought not the antibiotic, the appetite booster and the anti-nausea, because that came out to like $30. So she paid for it. And then when she took me home, I got my card. We went up to the bank. I pulled out $30, gave that to her. Or I pulled out 20. I had a 10 up here that I was holding for another bill that was coming up soon. So I didn't accidentally spend it, you know. Then, I think it was Thursday, I walked up to my friend's work. Yeah, it was Thursday because he told me to come up the next day, and it was Wednesday when I went in. I walked up to his work, which is like an hour-and-a-half walk there and another one back, you know. Walked up there, got 50 from him, even though I only needed the 30 at the time, but I'll get to that in a minute. Came back, and on the way back, because I had to pass the bank, deposited it, etc. Well, Thursday, he was still not doing good. By Thursday, we'd finally gotten to eat something. I sent John up to the Big Lots across the street to get a can of gravy, which seems to have gone completely MIA. I will find it after I do this video. And we got a baby syringe from Walgreens, and I just syringed up like 5 milliliters, put the gravy in him, you know, gave him some food. Gravy is not necessarily the best thing to feed him, but it was a toss-up between feeding him anything and just letting him fucking starve. And quite frankly, that gravy probably saved his life. I took him up, now, I'm going to preface this by saying, anyone who's seen anything on This Week in Kyrix knows that my friend who's the HeroClix judge and I have a bit of a rocky friendship. I mean, we're not at each other's throats all the time, but a considerable amount of time in This Week in Kyrix is spent with me bitching about something he's done recently, you know. To the point where a lot of people might wonder, well, why the fuck are you friends with him? My friend Jay has asked me that. And the answer will be explained in just a minute and be shown right after, which is the fact that for as much as he pisses me off, for as many stupid, boneheaded things as he does, there is no point where I don't believe he's my friend, where he hasn't proven he's a good friend. He's, honestly, if I could compare him to anyone, he reminds me of me in that regard, in that all of my friends know that if they need something from me and it's in my power to do it, I will fucking do it. So, I had told him, I'd sent him the pictures, etc. He's a nurse. I told him about this, like, wow, that sounds like an abscess, like a boil, etc. You know, he needs antibiotics. I'm like, well, I can't fucking afford them. Because the antibiotics were $60 by themselves. And he told me, well, you need to do something. And he had some medical stuff that he got me. Just minor topical shit, you know. Just like anti-inflammatory creams, that kind of stuff that he got me. And I called him Thursday night. I'm like, dude, can you... Or no, I called him in the morning, Friday morning. I'm like, is there any possible way you can get me up to the Banfield by... I want to say 3:30 is what it was, you know, because that was the first opening. He's like, yeah, I can do that. And the reason I called him is because he was the only other person who not only could get me up there, but if I needed to, could loan me the money. And I even told him, I'm like, look, if I have to borrow this from you, I will pay you back, or I'll sell you clicks, whatever. He's like, dude, don't worry about it. I'm not going to let your cat die. So we got to the vet, and the vet's I told the vet I don't think he's necessarily critical, because he was getting better. He was getting more of his personality back, you know. But she was looking at him like, yeah, to me that looks like a cat who's critical. You know, I mean, she's like, you know him better than I do, but if I were just seeing him, I would say, yeah, he's definitely in the danger zone. We got an antibiotic in him. They gave it to him in his left or his right rear leg, you know. Um, what else? We took his blood sugar, which I started to do. I told him I could do it because they're like, well, we couldn't do it without sedating him. I'm like, I could do it. I didn't realize they didn't have a lancet. They had a needle, like a hypodermic needle. But, some of the hypodermic needles you get that you can screw the needle off, that's what they brought me. And I'm trying to do it manually, and I just can't poke him like that. So I hand it off to my friend. I'm like, here, you do it. And he pokes him, and he's trying to get the blood out. And at one point, he accidentally pokes him through the ear, which... I've actually done that myself with the lancet a couple times. Believe it or not, he really doesn't seem to care, even when he's not sick. It annoys him that he keeps getting punched, but it sounded like punched, but I started to say punctured and abbreviated it for some stupid reason. But he himself does not seem to differentiate between getting popped normally and getting popped straight through. Now, granted, he doesn't like having his blood taken out of his ear at all for his diabetic reader. And before anyone screams animal abuse, that's specifically where the vet told me to take the blood from him. And that's also where a diabetic cat group, told me to take blood from him, is you do it from the ear. You don't do it from the paws. They can get infected. And he read out at about, I think it was like 123, which is in the normal safe range for cats. But that alarmed me because even though we've been giving him insulin, though we hadn't in a couple days because he wasn't eating, his normal readouts are in the 230 to 350 range, which is what they were expecting. So they basically said, yeah, this infection's probably causing him to metabolize all his sugar. Or just dumping it straight into his urine, So she gives me a prescription cat food, that, wet food, by the way, and tells me, oh, just put it in a blender. Well, we end up stopping at a thrift store and getting the only blender we can find, which is a margarita mixer. It's not perfect, but it does what I needed to do. Hi, Rio. So we get him home, I blend this stuff up. He has been making a stable recovery. It's not fast by any means. It had a spurt, like right when he got home with the antibiotic, where he was doing real good. He hasn't really declined. He hasn't slipped back at all. But he stopped spiking. He's getting better, just little bits at a time. He's getting more of his personality back. He's starting to bitch at us more, because originally he might try and hold on to his carrier when I'm pulling him out, but that's it. Now he's just, growling, whining at me when I do it. If I hold him too much, he whines. One time I didn't have to liquefy his food. I set it down. Every time I feed him, I set the actual chunk of wet food down first, see if he does anything. Then I liquefy it, see if he does anything with that, and then I go to step 3, which is the baby syringe. But he went after this food in a way that could only be described as attacking it, where he just kind of pounced on it and was lifting it up. It looked like he was trying to eat the whole chunk in one bite, which was a quarter of a can. He has been steadily taking wet food via baby syringe, and sometimes he'll lick it up. Like, what happens is, if he licks it up himself, then I'll let him get whatever he gets, and then check on him again in a half an hour to an hour and see if he wants more. If he doesn't, he gets 5 to 10 milliliters via baby syringe, and in a half an hour we do him again, I also let him out fairly frequently to use the litter box. Now, last night and this morning, he peed in the case. I don't think that's a case of him losing bladder control, as it is he needed to pee at a time when I wasn't letting him out. He's currently been in his carrier for 2 or 3 days because he was wandering the room. So every time I wanted to check on him, I had to find him. Now, my room's not that big, and there's only about 6 or 7 places he can hide. But a couple of them are difficult to pull him out of. Like, one in particular is impossible. One of the places he goes is behind my recliner couch, and another one is directly under it. Now, when I say under it, I don't mean like under the recliner part. He gets in the back and goes under the back flap, where I can't really get him because of the awkwardness of where he's at. And if something goes wrong, I don't want to have to wrestle with furniture to get him out, so he's been in his carrier. If he continues doing well, he'll probably be out of the carrier within a day or two. I don't like that he's in there, but it's probably better for him. Even the vet said so, because it's quiet in there. It's fairly dark because he's not facing any lights. He can sleep, he can rest, he can devote all his energy to recovering, and he doesn't have to do anything. And I bring him out for food and water, put him in the litter box every time I feed him. Usually he just tries to lay down, and then I'm like, no, get out. He hasn't been grooming himself at all, which, to be fair, his jaw is really fucking hurting him. So, but he got a bath last night because he peed on his blanket. I don't think he got any on him, but he needed the bath anyway because he had beef stew on his left, let's call it a wrist fur, because I tried to tempt him with that. He had gravy on his tail because he dipped his tail in the gravy saucer, you know. And he was still stiff on his chest and stomach from the drool. So he was overdue for it anyway. I was holding off because I didn't want to stress him out. Especially since he wouldn't groom himself, so he'd have to drip dry or towel dry. And towel dry is not the best option for him. And drip dry takes forever. Which I combined the two last night. He behaved reasonably well. But then again, I wasn't scrubbing him. I basically had him wrapped up and was petting him with the towel. So that might have contributed. Now, he is significantly more alert in his carrier than he was before the antibiotic. Meaning, if I shine a light at him or talk to him, he'll probably look at me unless he was asleep. If I lift the carrier, he at least glances up at me, whereas before he was just kind of ignoring me completely. When I pick him up and carry him around the house, he looks around at things. He pays attention. He's curious again. He does occasionally take in water by himself without a syringe, and he'll do the same with his food sometimes. Every time I let him out, he does go to the litter box. Whether he uses it or not, he does at least recognize, I should go to the litter box and see if I have to pee. Okay, I don't have to pee, I'm going to lay down. I don't know why he's laying there, but he's also really, really exhausted. He's still kind of weak. He's very wobbly. But then again, keep in mind, he's been eating nothing but liquids. And one instance of solid that there was so little of it, he hasn't even really had to pass it as poop yet, you know, because he didn't eat that much. He's used to getting 2 cans a day of wet food, Friskies size cans, and he's been dropped down to, by the vet's order, basically half a can mixed in water over 2 sittings. You know, like I take a quarter, mix it with water, that's his morning, do it again, that's his night, you know. And again, it's been a pure liquid diet for him, so he's probably exhausted. He doesn't... Because I know liquid diets will keep you going, but they don't tend to usually give you very much energy unless it's juice or something, and that's more of a sugar rush, I've been led to believe. So for that last week, I've been kind of a wreck. I haven't been just paralyzed with fear that anything was wrong with him, but I have been very concerned. But more importantly, I didn't sleep. I maybe, over the course of 3 or 4 days, had 10 hours sleep. If that. It was probably closer to 5 or 6. Because every time I would go to sleep, I'd wake up and he would have regressed. You know, like I'd feed him a bit and he'd be his usual perky-ish self. Although, again, tired and wobbly. And then I'd be like, okay, he's fine. And then I'd go to sleep and I'd wake up and he's back to being a fucking zombie. Which, the antibiotic fixed that. He stopped doing that after he had the antibiotic. Which is when I started sleeping again for real. Like yesterday, I think it was Sunday, I spent like 80% of that day asleep, just catching up on the week before. Almost every time, if I wasn't recording or taking care of him, I was out cold on the couch. Well, not couch, my recliner bed, basically. Because I needed to physically recover. Also, I've probably lost 5 or 10 pounds because I stopped eating. I don't mean completely, but I mean... Anyone who's heard me talk about it in a Let's Play, you know, like, I'm always hungry because I forget to eat. Well, that's me forgetting to eat when I have an appetite. When I'm worried about him, my appetite goes away, so I eat less. So it took me until about Friday and Saturday to start recovering my sleeping and eating again. But he seems to be on the mend. I'm going to call the vet later. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning right now. I'm going to call the vet later today, see if the doctor he saw is coming in today. Try and set up a point where I can either call her or have her call me so I can update her on Kisa. Get her opinion of how this is. And so on. But I have been recording. I found time to record. You will be hearing this next year when you start watching my Xenoverse stuff around maybe episode 14 or 15. I start talking about Kisa because that's about the point where it started happening. So wish me luck that because right now he seems to be recovering just fine. Just let's all hope that continues the trend, and that by this time next week I basically say, yeah, he's made a full recovery. He's roaming the house again. He's being a little shit. Oh, he bit me today, the little bastard, because he's my baby, and he has been for 9 years. And I'm extremely concerned about him. Oreo, however, I feel so bad for her because every time we're putting all this attention on Kisa, and she just wants to be a part of it. She doesn't want to steal the attention, but she wants to be a part of it. She wants to be in the room. But we need her to leave him alone while he's eating, and she gets in his bowl. Now, don't take that to mean that I've paid her no attention, because frequently this past week when I'm laying down, she'll come over and get cuddles and rub on me. And she's been sleeping next to me, which is to say up on the headboard of the, not headboard, but the headrest part of the, because my bed is a love seat recliner. And I sleep on the right side, and she's basically on the headboard of the left side, So she hasn't been neglected, but she's not receiving the kind of attention she would if Kisa were healthy right now. So now I'm hoping again that Kisa will make a full recovery. And I'm very, very optimistic that he will. I'm almost positive he will, because he's had a chance to decline sharply and it hasn't happened yet. Now, looking at him compared to how he was almost a week ago, he's fine. But if I were to get him back in the vet in this condition, if I were to take him to the vet healthy and he came back like this, I would be so alarmed that we would literally just turn around and drive him right back to the fucking vet. So when I say he's recovering, don't take that to mean he's out of the clear, or he's out of the woods, that he's in the clear, because he's not. I have a lot of work ahead of me. I'm probably going to skip HeroClix and a Star Trek tournament this week because I need to be here to take care of him in case something goes wrong, or just casual maintenance. Like, I barely got up to McDonald's to do uploads. I have done them, but whereas I might go up every day normally just to get casual internet shit done, this past week I was up there maybe twice. So, yeah. With any luck, you won't anytime in the next few years be receiving a really, really bad news video about Kisa or Oreo. But be aware that that is a possibility. And if it does happen, be prepared for me to drop off the grid for anywhere from a week to a month. Because, like I said, Kisa is my baby and has been for close to a decade. And not only that, he's been a constant companion. Like, this cat doesn't... Generally, he spends all his time in my room. Like, lately, in the past 2 months, he has, because they live in my room full time now, so that because the other pets, because they're still not reconciled with Honey, and I can't keep Honey locked up in Mom's room. Because Mom isn't in a condition to take care of her. She's bedridden. So Honey needs to get access to the rest of the house for food, water, and litter stuff. Whereas I'm perfectly mobile, and I have a much bigger room with more stuff for them to get into, so my cats are free to roam, because every now and then I can shut the door for Honey's room and let them out to play. Which I need to do soon, because Rio's been getting stir crazy. But even before then, he rarely leaves my room. He would go out into the hallway on a regular basis, but he would stay in my room. Almost never goes into the rest of the house anymore. I mean, Oreo occasionally does, but he hasn't done that in months. So he's even more of a constant presence. And I hope he will continue to be so for at least the next 6 or 7 years, you know. I'd like for him to hit 20. But yeah, for the record, not counting his monthly vet thing and not counting his anesthetic that didn't work, I've spent, all borrowed by the way, around 120 bucks on his healthcare recently, and that other 20 bucks that Skinner loaned me, I gave it to the HeroClix judge to get Kisa a new diabetic testing kit so I could start doing his blood sugar and all that, because I hadn't been doing it because I couldn't afford strips, you know, at all. But he basically found me a nice tester where I can get 100 strips for 10 bucks, and you can't beat that. That's basically $1 a strip. And for anyone who doesn't know, and good for you if you don't know, that means you're lucky. The very first strip or tester that was sent to me via the Diabetic Cats in Need, which as I understand doesn't do supplies anymore for donation reasons, for financial reasons, you know. But when I tried to get strips for that, I was looking at like 60 bucks for a box of 50. Contrast that for getting 100 for 10 bucks, you know. And that's not that unusual, I'm told. So, starting today, I'm going to set up the situation so I can start testing his sugar again. Hopefully getting good results. I'm hoping to see him in the 2s and 300s again. For the first time ever, I want to see him... Well, no, second time. The first time I wanted to see him like that was when he would hit 5 or 6. I hope to see him in the 2 to 300 range, because that means he's getting back to what, for him, was normal levels. It also means that it's safe to give him insulin again. But for all I know, his tiredness could just be low blood sugar, and I just need to feed him more. It could be weakness because he hasn't been getting a lot of food. It could be the fact that he's recovering from everything. Or it could be that the infection's getting worse, which I don't think it is. Because I'm not known for my eye for detail. Things can just pass me by if they change gradually. But even I'm pretty sure that the swelling on his chin has gone down. My roommate John has said flat out, yes, the swelling has gone down considerably, which means it's starting to heal. Last night he let me touch the thing, the chin boil, because I had to wash it, you know. He has been letting me apply vitamin ointment to it. And he's also been letting me clean it when it gets little blood spots. So, but the most encouraging thing is the fact that he does not passively lay in John's arms while I feed him. He fights. We have to wrap him in a towel to keep him from clawing the fuck out of us, because he doesn't want that syringe in his mouth. And I can't blame him. Literally, for the first 8 years of his life, every time a syringe went in his mouth, the only thing that came out was fucking dewormer, and it tastes like ass, you know? This is the first time anything good has gone into his mouth in a syringe. So, I really don't blame him for not wanting that. Plus, cats don't like having their jaws pried open, which is something we have to do. And when I say pried open, I mean you have to basically put your fingers on the sides of the mouth and push gently, but you have to push to force his jaws open. We're not, like, hurting him doing this. As a matter of fact, John, the feeding takes longer because John will not hold his head still while he's doing that because he didn't want to hurt his jaws. To the point where I actually have my hand on the back of his head to keep him from twitching too much. But he tries to close his mouth on us. It takes a couple seconds to get his mouth open because he's exerting so much force keeping his jaws shut. And he frequently gets a paw free to swipe at us. And when I pull him out of his carrier, I have to pull him out of his carrier because he's got his claws in the towel in there, and I have to drag him out. So, he may not be the most stable walker right now, but he is strong enough to fight us. And that encourages me, and it encourages the vet, too. The fact that he has strength to him. He's not passively taking anything we do to him, except being held, because Daddy holds him all the time. Yeah, so... And I'm really upset the very fact that the very first pictures of Kisa ever posted to my channel are of him in such bad condition. I really did try, because I have a picture of him on this. I thought it was on this computer. Apparently it's on my external. Of him in a very cute little bandana from PetSmart. And I wanted to show that to everyone first, and then show, you know, the after picture, so to speak. But I couldn't find it, and I had to talk myself into doing this video in the first place, so. And I really don't want to take a picture of him now in the condition he's in. Actually, give me a second here. I might have a picture somewhere. I don't think I have pictures of my thing. I know I have videos. Oh, actually, I do have pictures of him. Give me a second here. Ignore the beep. Here are the cute kitty pictures coming up. Yeah, I'm loading this in real time. I'm so fucking professional, it hurts. But hey, I think I get a pass for this. Is this a video or is... Oh, that's Rio. Never mind. That's a video. Alright. Load up. Okay, picture. If you see the big black kitty with the red collar is Kisa. The messy floor is mine. And the little itty-bitty black and white one next to him is Rio. And you can see my toes. So that's what my toes look like, everybody. Kyrix's toes confirmed. He has feet. Yeah, I've cleaned up the floor a bit since then. That was just... But yeah, that's what he looks like when he's healthy. You know, healthy, happy kitty, very pretty. I actually took his collar off a couple of days ago because I was worried, because it kept clinking in his food, and I was worried it might have been smacking him in his chin as well and hurting him. Another cute kitty picture. Taken roughly at the same time as that one, actually, is the two of them actually laying down together. It's a bit lopsided. It should actually be vertical instead of horizontal like that, but kind of looks like they're clinging to my wall, actually. But no, that's the same thing, taken at a different angle. Both very cute together. They don't do that often, but they do cuddle like that sometimes. What's this? This is more Kisa and Rio, more Kisa and Rio. There's just Rio. But, yeah, it's, really wish I'd checked that folder first, because I have a folder of, photos from my phone. Gee, that's not a lot of Fs. Yeah, like I said, I wish I'd thought to do that first, because I really wish you'd have seen cute kitty pictures of him before you saw him with his chin all messed up. But like I said, near as I can tell, and I'm not even close to a medical professional, he seems to be very much on the mend. It could be as much as a week or two before he fully recovers, because he was pretty bad, you know? Though the vet assured me that the antibiotic she gave him Friday is basically has a 2-week release time. It'll continue to work for 2 whole weeks. Hopefully, before that 2 weeks expires, he'll be in better shape and won't need like a booster shot of it. Because that's another $60 I gotta beg for at that point. Wish me luck. You will definitely hear about this in This Week in Kyrix. Matter of fact, I might effectively just make this my commentary again. Not like posting it over the video or anything, but I will probably basically tell you all this again on Wednesday in This Week in Kyrix. Thank you for watching this, those of you who are still here. The support means a lot. And if anything does happen to him, that I hope it doesn't, but if it does, basically all you're going to hear out of me is that something, that it happened, and then you're probably not going to see me for a while. I may or may not continue recording stuff off screen, but my update videos will probably stop, because I know that when my other cat died, I was just... it took me 2 weeks to a month to fully recover from that. You know? So it's kind of a thing. I have actually started uploading videos that I already have recorded. Normally I wait until the Let's Play is done, But given that I'm so far into these that it'll take at least halfway through the year before we get to the end of them, I think it's safe for me to upload them because I can finish them in that time. You know, like Dead Rising 2 has gone up, or it's going up rather. I'm gonna start uploading Xenoverse very shortly. I've done a couple other things just to get them up so that I don't have to put them back on the hard drive to do it later, and so that I don't scramble in the last week of December to get everything up in time. I want to at least get the first 3 or 4 months up and running before anything, so that for at least 3 or 4 months, you're going to have a video every day. I'm trying to think if I even have anything else to say. But yeah, that's been my situation. Thank you for watching, and here's hoping for good news. Bye-bye.